Welcome to the Pam Goodwin Show. I am thrilled to have our next guest, Melissa Plaskoff, who is the co-founder and president of On-AIR Media. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me, Pam. I'm so excited to be here. I'm used to being here, on the other side of this table, so this is exciting.
Well, thanks. I think we actually met, it's been several years, but we met through mutual friends.
We did. Women's Leadership Live, right?
Correct.
Yes.
With Debbie Saviano and Stacy Shefflin, and of course the one and only Linda McMahon.
Right?
And so when I found out you were starting your own media company and bought your own building, and that's where I air the show. But the minute I met you, I just was so, I don't even know what word to use, but so creative. When I was starting to figure out, what do I do with my show, commercial real estate, my show, and you've always been so helpful and creative. And I just would love to, I don't really know your background too much.
Well, we can get into it, but I do want to say that you've been so kind and so gracious. And I do think that when we initially met, there was a connection, and we immediately were like, it was before reality shows were doing all of the shows, right? With, on this corner, you could put a building here. We had so many ideas, and you could even, pre-produce the segment and put the rat in there and everyone would scream. But we had fun and we had a connection, and you're so loyal. And through all of these trips and turns and everything, you've been here, and I love seeing you shine and talk about what you do best. So this is fun for me.
Oh, thanks. I know you're used to being on the other side,
right,
as producing a lot of TV shows, and you work with so many celebrities here based in the Dallas market, and love seeing all the posts on Instagram of everything you're doing.
Yeah, we're having so much fun. We're so lucky that, I think the rule here is it doesn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone's the same. We all are humans, so we're all going to be treated the same, whether you are a former Dallas Cowboy or not. It doesn't matter, because we all have a message to share. And I love that we have a platform to allow everyone to share their message that's affordable. And not everyone can be, Ron Corning on a morning show. So I think that it's great that we have this opportunity.
So tell our viewers about your background. How did you get started? You went to, I know we talked about the University of Arizona where our son started, and you went there, and then UT, but tell us, did you grow up here?
I did. And it's so funny because it's this morning on the way to school, we were talking about my mom, and my daughter was doing a dance move, and my mom said, "Oh, that's the buffalo." And I said, "How do you even know what the buffalo is in tap?" And Annabelle, my daughter, said, "Well, I thought, you were a teacher." And she said, "No, I was a dancer." And my brother said, we were telling him this story. He said, "Well, just like your mother, Annabelle, Melissa's mom also had many careers." And I kind of chuckled, because the truth is, I have had such a path, but I think all of my jobs and literally careers have led me here. I mean, I went to Arizona. My mom has multiple sclerosis. So my sophomore year, she was sick. I was traveling home a lot. And my parents were like, "Look, here's the deal. Why don't you come back home instead of flying home every other weekend and go to a local school?" So local would be Austin. So I finished up at the University of Texas with a sign language degree and teaching and sociology, worked at the Texas School for the Deaf, and ended up teaching as my first job right out of school. Did I love it? No. Ironically enough, the part that I didn't like was the carpool line. I couldn't understand the point of, you get ready in the morning and then you go out there for carpool and then you've got stinky hair, and it drove me crazy. So I was like, okay, I can check that box, teaching out. Next item on the list, real estate. So I got my real estate license, and I worked in commercial real estate for a hot minute. Crazy, I know.
I had no idea. You did?
I did.
Well, I know you have such a liking. When you found your building here, I figured you were so good at it, knowing so much about.
Well, if I had a brain, I would have kept my license. But no, I did that. And again, I just felt like there was something that wasn't right. So I ended up going from that and working with my family in the insurance and financial services business, which, let me tell you, balancing a checkbook or looking at numbers is not my gift. But relationships are. So I was able to work with so many great companies and corporations and really have great connections and relationships. So I was able to go in and say, okay, let's look at your employee benefits plan. Now, they're going to say, you have a $2 million budget. What do you think we should do? And for me, I could get every expert in the room and we could figure it out. And they would end up telling me, the client, about their kids. I was the therapist. And we ended up connecting, and my book of business really grew. And I did that for 10 years. And the rule there, since it was a family business, was you were the first one in and you were the last one out. So work ethic to me was taught, at a very young age. And I was not immediately given that position. I was answering the phone. I was the receptionist. I was in the mailroom back when you had to deliver the mail. I was doing all of those things and with a smile on my face, because it didn't matter that you were getting paid nothing. You were showing up to work every day and you were making things happen, not complaining, not talking about your personal life, none of that. So I did that for 10 years, got pregnant, got married, got pregnant in order. And, I went to my dad and I said, what's the plan? Can I work part-time? And he said, no, you either work full-time or part-time, or full-time or no time. And I had to make a decision because I had built this really big book, when I got married, 28, but book of business. And I thought, do I let that go or do I stay home? And I decided to be a mom, stay-at-home mom. So I let that part of my life go. And I understood. I mean, he said, we don't have anyone here that works part-time. We can't make an exception for you. And if a client calls in, what are we supposed to say? She'll get back to you when she's here on Wednesday. So I totally respect that decision. You want me to take a break or keep going? Because there's a lot of careers. Fast forward. Okay. As I ask you the question and keep moving. And everyone in here is laughing. Okay, so this is the juicy part. So fast forward, I have my children. I can't stay at home. I'm doing kind of little odds and ends jobs because I can't sit still for a minute. And my son was having some issues with his learning. And my mom, who's an author, the one MS, I came back, she, with her MS, ended up writing a book series called The Courage to Give. And it was about, taking a step outside of something that's, when you're dealing with something, like you dealt with your situation and help someone else, your perspective changes when you look back on your own timing. Anyway, so we went to lunch and she said, here's the deal. I know he's having some struggles at school, my son. You need to get it together. She goes, get a job, volunteer, do something, because the more you focus on him, the worse it will be for you. A week later, earthquake happens in Haiti. And this was, Hudson's now 15. He was 4. He's like, Mom, I want to do something to help the people in Haiti. And I was like, okay. So we started Lemons to Aid after this event. We had a lemonade stand, which kids, of course, do now for everything. And we raised $150 for the people in Haiti. And we had exposure with local media. And it was like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm not focusing on my kid. He now has purpose and we're helping someone else. It was like the trifecta. So Lemons to Aid grew and we had kids across the world doing things to help others. It was beautiful. And it was almost like when there was a disaster, think of Lemons to Aid. So the Japan tsunami, we raised money. The Gulf Coast oil spill, we raised money. But with each of those, we were able to have media attention. And we can talk about that a little bit later, but USA Today, CBS Evening News with Katie Couric. So we had national attention for these moments, and it was really easy to get the attention. And we weren't doing it for the attention, but it was a great way to show, and showcase what all of these children were doing. So after that,
did they just start calling you, the media?
No, I pitched them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I reached out to them and
you had no experience in this at the time?
No
Wow.
experience, 0. But I think the way in that case that I did it was I found the journalist that, let's use USA Today, for example. This was for the Gulf Coast oil spill. So I found the journalist who wrote about different situations or these horrible moments, in history. And I reached out to her. I still remember her name. and sent her an email, found an article that she had written. You know, you stroke the ego a little bit. I love what you wrote about da. Here's what's happening in Dallas. Short little tidbit about it, not this long, I don't want to say vomiting story, but like I'm doing now, but short little bullets, and asked if they were interested in covering it. No joke. She wrote me back. They sent out a photographer, and he was on, I think, page 1. There was a little picture. Page 3 of USA Today is my son holding a cup of lemonade. And I couldn't believe it. But I'm like, that was so easy.
All you did was ask.
All I did was ask. And next thing you know, I have her contact information. So guess what? Now she's in the Rolodex. Same thing happened with the Japan tsunami. CBS Evening News. I literally found, and again, I'm not just finding this one at USA Today. You're going there at the Today Show, all of these places. Hey, so-and-so, it takes work. I love what you wrote about da. I love how the story and how you covered this. Here's what's happening in Dallas. and I should probably go back and find the pitches, but they were so short, but my angle was different and to the point, creative. And next thing you know, they're calling going, we're going to send out a camera crew. And he was on the national news. And it's just my whole thing about trying to get coverage is that it's just not difficult. So many people think that you have to, and I'm not, listen, I work with a ton of publicists, and absolutely, if you need to hire someone in PR, do it, because they will guarantee you placement. But if you can't, you can do it on your own. Just figure out your angle, find someone who covers whatever you're doing, let them know you love what they're doing, and share your information. And don't follow up 500 times, because it's annoying. Because I've been on the other side of it too. I mean, as far as one of our shows has gone to broadcast, and when someone's constantly calling you, it's like, look, like, I'm not calling you back. We've got 500 pitches here. Like, let's try something different. But it's really not challenging.
So it's best just to reach out to them by, like you said, just finding them. It's probably a little bit easier with social media, Twitter and Instagram.
Totally.
And just, I have that too with me trying to find guests. People are asking me, how are you getting these guests? I'm
right.
like, I am just asking. And so
yeah, so
you started that, and then you started a podcast.
So next thing you know, I'm doing that. And I was on Good Morning Texas a lot, talking about Lemons to Aid and a lot of Dallas Morning News, a lot of local coverage. And and the other thing is, on the kind of down news days, you know, holidays and things like that, those are great days to pitch too. They need stories, they need content. But yeah, so fast forward, I've got 3 kids, 3 different schools. It's super hot in Texas. I'm bored in the carpool line, and I'm like, I have another idea. Let's start a podcast. How do you do this? I have no idea.
And I think you were one of the first to start the podcast, because I remember, how many years ago was that? That's about when we first met, because I was thinking, what is a podcast? And now you're in the carpool lane doing a podcast. I'm like, what a great idea.
And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I was hot in the carpool line. I was bored, and I needed a connection. And I'm like, okay, so they always say, if you're thinking about something, you're not the only one. Why not try it? So I literally started Carpool Talk Show, and it was a very real and raw conversation. You know, how do you break up with a toxic friend? Who pays for the bottle of wine at dinner when it's super expensive and you didn't have a sip? You know, how do you reignite the flame at home with your husband? These helicopter parents, and I'm not saying I'm not one of them, but, you know, kind of those conversations, and then taking it to the next level of, how do you monetize? So we went into the carpool line. We connected with schools. We would go into the school on a Friday, not for the kids, mom, dad, nanny, I didn't care. Give them a green juice, a flower, a movie ticket, and they would get all of that. It would set the tone for their weekend. I would take off, and they'd get the kids. And the best part was, I'd get paid. So not only was I giving the gift, you know, to these people in the carpool line, the brand was paying me, because they're now reaching all of these moms that their demo based on the product, and they didn't have to do anything.
Wow, what a great way.
Yeah. And I just
So
had.
did you come up with that?
Yes.
I mean, you're so creative.
No, I was like, it was a carpool ambush. So it was
Yeah.
like, nominate your school and blah, blah, blah. So we would do that. We did it with Women's Leadership Live. We gave out Stacy's brow pencil
Okay.
at a local school here. And then we also did, gosh, it was great. We gave away, I think it was a free massage or spa treatment or something. And the person that won got out of the car and I think had just finished treatment for cancer or something. And it was like, it's like those moments and you think, this is amazing. But what I learned was that everyone who came on my show wanted to have their own show. And so phase 2.5 was, okay, now I'm seeing what's happening here. How do I create a platform for others to do what I'm doing? Because no one wants to buy the equipment. You have to have an acoustically sound and soundproof studio. You have to have professionals helping you. What am I going to do? So this is how On-Air Media began.
Wow.
Yeah. And I met Chris Jagger, and he had been in the radio business forever. And so we decided to team up and go crazy. And now here's where we are. And who would have thought that starting this in 2016, here, we know we're in our second space and we have a 12,000 square foot building that's beautiful. And with everything going on during the pandemic, I mean, our team has been so careful and we've worked really hard to keep everyone safe. But at the same time, I wouldn't have known we would have had this swivel, not pivot, to virtual events. And that's taken off and it's been nonstop. And we have these awesome clients and I get to learn and hear people's stories every day. And it's the best because like with ADD, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm ready to move on. I mean, yesterday was someone who wrote a book about a near-death experience. I'm like, that's amazing. And then you move on to, an athlete. It's like, okay. But
So what kind of, I know I can't believe it's 5 years ago.
Is that right?
Or so?
I
2000.
mean,
Anyways,
I
I
don't
know
know.
I've
I feel
lost
so
track
old.
of time too. I feel like I just graduated from college.
Right.
So,
Same.
But I know a lot of your services here because I use them. But what are some of the other services On-Air Media has that we may not be aware of? That we can
I mean,
tap into?
you're just so sweet. So we have the vodcasting, which is what you're doing. So we've got the video cameras here, and we are podcasting, and which would be the audio, and the vodcasting would be the video. We have that opportunity. We can do that pre-recorded, or we can live stream, which is great. We have strategy components. But a lot of people will come in. I mean, you spent a lot of time thinking about what you want to do. You didn't just say, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's turn on the microphone. So that's important. So kind of coming up with that plan prior to launch, instead of someone walking in saying, can I start tomorrow? I mean, I could say yes, but does that feel right? No. And is it great for them? No. Is it good for a pocketbook over here? Maybe. But at the end of the day, they won't succeed. So the strategy is really important, coming up with the game plan. How do we execute? Who's your audience? Do we need to come up with a marketing strategy for sponsors? And how do we do all of those things? The virtual events have been huge. And a lot of them are pre-recorded where we can stream and, do a faux live experience. We have one coming up. They're going to be kind of going back and forth with the live component. That's been great. We have someone in before you from a college doing a Zoom meeting. It's literally, I don't want to say I say sometimes it's the pretty woman, what do you want my name to be? What do you want us to do? We can do a lot of things, and there are things we cannot do. And I think that's really important to understand. We had someone reach out about doing something that felt like the Academy Awards at a venue, this whole thing. And sometimes, you say, that's just not who we are. I'm going to stay in my lane. It would have been great. But at the same time, would it have been? We would have been really stressed out. Would we have done an amazing job? I don't know. If we didn't, that's not good because it takes that one bad moment to taint the waters. So I think it's important that we stay in our lane. Another thing, we have, a couple of different studio options. So some people want furniture and kind of like a comfy, cozy space. We can work with that, switch out artwork. We have another studio like this without a desk where we can kind of create a space. We have media training. We can go on location. Tonight, we will be at Chef Kent Rathbun's home, capturing, he's going to be cooking, and we're going to be capturing a drink for another virtual event. So we're able to kind of do all things digital and video. But I think, like I said, it's important for us to understand what we can't do, and it's okay to say no.
I know one thing you do is you make it so easy. Because I tried, you know me, I tried doing some videos on my own. You see all this really cool videos on Instagram and Twitter. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do that. And you try to figure out how to do it on your own. And I was wasting so much time. So the great thing about coming into your studio is everything's already set up. You have the Zoom call with my guest.
Right.
And then by the time I get home, Jason's already sent me the Zoom link to me.
Good.
And I'm ready to post it right away. And I didn't have to do anything. The logo's on there, all
that's
of that.
the point. Okay, so if I wanted to look at real estate, I could get on LoopNet. I could start looking. I could call the other agent. I could book it. It's the same thing. And then I could get out there, and then it would be time to negotiate my contract. I would miss a million things. It's literally the same thing. This is what we do. And I think it takes sometimes someone to say, you know what? It's just not worth it for me to try this on my own. Time is money. And we are fully turnkey. And I think that allowing people to walk in, be talent, and leave is what makes this unique. And I have to say, as far as getting media coverage, I encourage everyone, use your own network. Find people within your network, whether it's LinkedIn, which you're a total pro. Look on all of your social media handles and see who you're connected with. And I just know these on-air talent, they love to engage, but you've got to connect back. And don't just complain. Find them, find something, and it's not fake, but have a connection. There is someone out there that will think like you, and they don't have to be local, but they're accessible. They're there. And the other thing is, I think with media coverage is, and you're, again, killing it, but be your own media outlet. You don't have to be a guest on a show for a minute and a half. And some of these shows like Morning After that was here, that's now on broadcast, it's a longer format interview. But 4 minutes isn't that long. And it's, you have to craft your message. If you have your own podcast or vodcast, you have the capability, or your own video series, to share your message, be your own media outlet, have your own guests on, and control the narrative. So I think the old way of being a guest or, having media coverage has changed. And that's why this format is so important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm always asking you, how do I get more national exposure? And you've really answered that. I hear that it really helps to have a lot of social media. Is there when you're looking for people to be guests on the show, do you look at their social media to see how many followers that they have?
I mean, when I was booking my guests on my show a million years ago, I did. And I had kind of my own rules about, you had to be at this place and this place, because again, I don't want to say it's ego driven, but look, if I've got 50,000 followers and I'm on your show, the rule is going to be, right? I'm on your show, so I have to push this to my group. Well, that's an immediate push to those 50. And then what's going to happen? They're going to push it. If I have 2 followers, not that that person isn't great, I'm sure they are, but how does that help me? Right? So I think thinking of those things, not always, but I do think it's important, to think about a lot of the different pieces. And maybe they have a huge LinkedIn following, but maybe that's not for you. You are more into Instagram, so it doesn't make sense. But I do think that looking at someone's following, it's really important. And I would also, for me, something I always pay attention to is if someone still has a blog on their website, look at the date of the last blog post. And if it says, 2016, it's like, okay, they don't pay attention. So those kind of little things for me, I don't know. Those are kind of my little, I'm like, okay, so they're not paying attention there. That means, and then I go down that whole world, but either remove the whole blog post tab or keep it up to date. So I kind of look at these weird little things to see if.
So you are checking everything, their social media, their websites, everything, to make sure it's updated. Are you still doing websites for people? Is that still part
We're
of your
consulting
services?
on that.
Okay.
So we'll consult, and we are working with someone right now to kind of do a revamp, but not, and we can connect you with someone. But again, I would say We don't have web developers here. None of that. Oh, one more thing that I think is important back to the social, political stuff. So it's important. I mean, right now it's kind of a heated political environment, and whether you're posting stuff or not, zero judgment, but make sure and look, because if you are adamant about one way and you have someone on and they do have 200,000 followers, they think differently than you, how's that going to work for you? So just, I don't know. I feel like dig a little deeper. I always did that with my guests. I would go back and find, these stories from forever ago and ask about that, because they would know I've done my research. And I think that's important too, find out, ask something different instead of the same old, same old. But yeah, I think.
Is there a subject line you should put in when you're trying to pitch to media, to get your message? Is there a good subject line that gets their attention, that it's open? How do you get that email open?
Okay, give me a topic. I'll try to do something off the top of my head. So if we were saying like lemonade and the Gulf Coast oil spill or the tsunami,
the winter snowstorm.
The winter snowstorm, right? I would say something like Dallas kid raises $10,000 for families without power.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe. It's very boring, but that's what's going on, and someone's going to go, oh, or it's going to fundraiser for, I would just keep it. Yes, you think it needs to be creative, but on the other side, producing morning after and I'm still getting pitches, getting this information. I want to know in the subject line exactly what you're doing, because I don't have time to go through and read a long press release. I just don't. And then in there, I would say, if it was the power, sold X amount of cookies, made pictures for the assisted living facility and all of those things, I would include pictures. I would include video, and take your phone and horizontally, slowly move it over and pan, and you have your B-roll. So those kind of moments, thinking about those things, and then they don't have to send out a camera crew.
Oh, so what do you mean as far as scrolling?
I don't have my phone with me, but basically I would take my phone and I would press record and I'd slowly pan this way.
But what are you panning?
The lemonade stand. We're still in the lemonade story.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're doing that. And then we're going to go slowly down. And then, I would get good 30 seconds of it slowly.
Okay.
So when I send my story, I can say, attached you will find photos of the lemonade stand, B-roll of the lemonade stand. You're making it so easy for them. If not, again, they're going to have to look for photos of a lemonade. You want to make it where they say, this is easy.
Ready. Let's go.
She's ready. I have my story. The other piece is include everything in there. Website, social media details, contact information. And if they call, answer the phone. So all of that stuff, because how many times have I know that I've called and they don't answer and you've got to move on. But an updated logo, maybe in PNG instead of like something in a very fancy file. So I would just say, make it very simple. Think if you were sending something to a fifth grader.
Got it. One more question, because I know you have to go and you're super busy, but is it better to send it to the anchor of that, or sending it to trying to find the executive producer? Who is the best person to send it to?
That's a great question. Okay. So being on both sides, I typically would have initially sent it to like the news tips, especially if it was something with the lemonade stuff. I would find on all of the sites, it's like, if you have a tip, send it to. And that's how we got our first piece. Actually, it was Lindsay Wilcox at Channel 5, and it was a Tell Me Something Good segment. And they were like, if you have something, and I thought, okay, this is a Tell Me Something Good. And literally it worked. So it's kind of, and I don't want to say common sense, but in that case, it was there. Now, what happens after that? Again, I have Lindsay's phone number. I have her email address, because now she's come to my house and she's emailed me and we've been in connection. But I think now, watching on the other side, everyone's pitching everyone. You're getting the executive producers involved, the anchors. And I feel like a lot of the times it's like, oh, wait, I got that pitch too. And I got that one. And oh, I heard about from that person. So I think if you have to blast it, blast it. At this point, you probably, to break through the noise, need to do that.
Okay.
But if there is something that is and not that, and I would be careful again with the news tips because a lot of time it's, it's newsy, and like the lemonade thing was more lifestyle. So I think it's just determining in your own mind, like what is breaking news that would not have been breaking, but, and it would not have been, like a serious type of show. But for the Power, yeah, I mean, if there was something going on, I know of something recently. Someone asked me about media coverage for something at a vaccine site. And, you kind of know exactly where to go depending on the situation. And I think the same thing with the Dallas Morning News. If you have a food story, Sarah Blaskovich is your girl. Reach out to her on Twitter. She's awesome. She will totally respond. But you need to know who's covering what. Mm-hmm. Steve Brown, right? And real estate,
right?
Yeah. So you just have to know in your mind who's covering what. And if you do a good job, here's the other side of it. They'll have you back. Good Morning Texas ended up calling me. How many times to say, hey, can you come on? Hey, can you come on? Because they knew I was going to show up. I was going to bring a beautiful presentation. I was going to go through all of my things and I'd get out of there. If you have someone that comes on and they're not media trained, they don't know what they're doing, they can't answer the questions. And trust me, anything you think they're going to ask you isn't going to be on a live interview what's going to happen. So you have to understand how to take that question, turn it around, answer it, but then throw in what you want to say. Mm-hmm. So doing that here with the media training all the time, it's great because we have people that will say, I'm going on this show. We had someone going on the Today Show. And, sometimes you need a little coaching before you do that.
That's one of my big goals. Did I tell you to be on the Today Show?
Really?
So do you have any connection?
Okay, so funny story. So my daughter's boyfriend, they're 7. Well, she told me this morning she has 10 boyfriends, but Max is her. This is her number one, and she wants to go on her first date to him at Pizza Hut. She goes, because I want to see him eat aggressively. I said, Annabelle, what? Anyway, so Max's mom is awesome, and she calls me. This was during Christmas, right after Halloween. She called and she goes, hey, or texted me and said, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, what's going on? She goes, I need to ask you a quick question. And I said, what's up? So I called her and she said, I'm going to be on the Today Show in 30 minutes. Okay. And I mean, you should have seen me. I was like, Annabelle, get in the car. I was like, I got over there and I just laid into her. I said, what do you mean I'm like, how did this happen? How do I not know about this? She said, it's all about Christmas decorations and decorating early and whatever. And they're calling me via Zoom and it's going to be played after the Thanksgiving Day parade. That's what it was. And I said, you should have seen me. I was crazy. I was like, move. I got her computer all set up. I was moving things around. I was lighting her. And next thing you know, Carrie Sanders pops up on the screen. And we talked and said hello. And the best was when I gave them a little piece of content on, the Elf on the Shelf, doing the quarantine shelf, whatever. And he, goes, oh, wait, what? And they ended up using it. And I'm like, look at me. But no, I think it's those moments like, I'm like, how did you not think to light yourself? How did you not, you were going to have the camera on your computer going up your nose. So all of those things play into it when you have these interviews at home too. But I know, I'm like, and how did you book this? And, but she had a friend of a friend and they needed a person. And next thing you know, and let me tell you, the day after Thanksgiving or when we were watching the parade, there they were. We were like, there they go. It was great.
So I hear you saying that you need to be prepared. I mean, if you're sending the stuff out to the news people, because I used to do casting in Los Angeles, so right. I know when we would call them, they better be ready and reliable. And so
that's exactly it. You have to be ready. You need to be, and know your message. Yep. And stick to it and be able to like I said, answer the question, but then, you see it all the time. How many times is a politician asked a question? They don't answer the question. They're going to go, well, and they're going to tell you what they want you to hear. But there's a little bit of, you want to be able to give a little bit of the answer and then put in your special little spin. But yeah, be prepared and practice. Practice. In the Mirror, we tell people that come in that are doing their virtual events here. I meet with all the people coming in that are speaking before. We'll do a Zoom call. We talk about what you're wearing. I mean, you did great. I did not. But jewel tones and, the right makeup and no patterns. And then we talk about, practicing. you have to practice. Some people have never read from a teleprompter, so you practice, or you smile. Some people don't realize when they talk that they have, a nasty look on their face, or they've got some weird habits. So I think all of those things, again, you want to be the most amazing guest. So once you've booked it, you don't want to fail. You're there. So at
That's
that
your
point,
moment.
That's your moment. So you better shine, because if you do great, you'll be back.
Well, I could talk to you all day about this, because I just love all the media stuff.
You do.
And I know you're super busy. How can we contact you and get, how can they who should they reach out to?
Call
if they
me.
want
I will
to
call everyone back. No, when
get
I
all
don't
of this
just say I'm
training and
busy. Oh my
services?
gosh. No, we're all busy. We all have so much going on, but I think it's, again, taking time to make these connections and share our own stories that make it really real. Because the truth is, we have kids, we have lives. There was someone in here the other day from a big nonprofit, and she was, kind of serious when she walked in. But guess what? At the end of it, we were laughing because, she's got 3 kids. One of them may have forgotten a lunch at home. And so we're all the same. And that's what I kind of want everyone here to realiase, that.
Well, you make it so easy and so comfortable.
I hope so.
And
But anyone can call me. I'll call.
I'll put your contact information on this.
I'll put my email, not my phone number. No. Sometimes the mailbox is full. No, but Melissa at on-airmedia.com, or just go to our website, or come visit. We're being super safe with COVID. Not sure how this whole mask situation is going to be. We're still wearing masks here. But yeah, we welcome anyone to come in and hang out and learn more.
Well, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
I always enjoy getting together and talking to you and all those wonderful behind-the-scene tidbits. So thanks again for being on the Pam Goodwin Show.
Congratulations. You're doing awesome.
Thank you.
So proud.